We're here on the campus of the University of Washington. We're going to debate. My position is that abortion should be illegal. We're going to try to get some college students to come have a conversation with us. I am a college dropout, so we'll see how these college-educated students fare against a dropout. If the liberal establishment is correct that education equals intelligence, they should mop the floor with me. It should be illegal. Do you want to have a debate?
No, I think that everybody should be allowed to have an abortion for any reason. It doesn't matter. It should be
9 months?
Yeah, sure. That doesn't happen.
What about
That's
what?
a false-
No,
that's
it's
a
not.
false argument. It
Because
doesn't
you said they
happen.
should be allowed to.
Yeah.
Do you think they should be allowed to 1 second before birth?
So that doesn't happen. That's
I'm not asking if it happens. I'm asking if you think it should be allowed to happen.
You're making up a bullshit argument that doesn't happen. This is just a.
It's a hypothetical. I'm testing your logical consistency.
Oh.
Do you believe that they should be able to do it 1 minute before birth?
Aw.
Okay. All right. You're pro-choice.
I am.
Okay. Why are you pro-choice?
I asked your argument first.
Yes. Okay. So fine. So I'm pro-life because I think out of a necessity to protect self-interest, the interest of others, every single human organism needs to have the right to not be unjustly aggressed upon.
Okay.
So I think when you start deteriorating that right against people based on certain qualities, whether it's development, appearance, necessity, whatever, you also open the door up to take those rights away from people who are alive, or who have been born, I mean.
Okay, I agree with that. I think that eugenics is a slippery slope. I think that it's a complicated issue. My problem with that is that the world is so vast and people have so many different experiences that by having an option, you are encouraging someone who already is alive to have the best option to live their life to the fullest and do the best with their resources, because those might be limited.
Sure, and I agree with you that we should try to maximize human flourishing as much as possible. But I think that if I were put in a situation where my best option to maximize my human flourishing was to pull out a gun and shoot you, we'd both agree that that's wrong, right?
Agreed.
Okay, so I don't think that you can sacrifice human life, which is valuable, for the needs or wants of other people. So, like, if I'm a father, and I have a child, and I think the best way to, let's say I can't afford the child's giving me like extreme mental health anxiety or something like that, I can't kill the kid to make me better off, or even to make my other children better off, if that child's a hazard, right? So you'd have to do something with it, whether it's put it up for adoption, something that doesn't kill it, because you can't infringe on its rights just because you're uncomfortable with it.
Right. And so if you're in a situation where you have a baby and the doctor lets you know that it's going to be so developmentally disabled that it isn't going to live past its 3rd year, and it ends up living past its 3rd year, and your child is now growing into a person, and your person has developmental issues and can't actually grow up past that age, and is now strong, and is now an old man, and can now do things that you can't physically control, and are now endangering you and your other children who you chose to have. We don't have an adoption system or anything in place that can take care of that, because people who are pro-life don't actually put a lot of energy into those places. And I argue that the Catholic Church and people like that who are often on those sides do work in those fields, and I acknowledge that and I appreciate that. But our systems are not in a place where we can take care of babies who aren't meant to live past that age.
Well, I think everyone is meant to live, but I think that if we are in a situation where you're saying that because this child has the potential of harming its parents, because it grows up to be big and it's not that intelligent, has developmental issues in its brain or whatever, that we should kill it to avoid danger, that would be the equivalent almost of you saying that we should just kill me right here, right now, because I could potentially pose a danger to you or anybody else on this campus. I mean, you don't know what I have on me, you don't know who I am, you don't know what kind of person I am, you don't know if I'm a good person or a bad person, but we don't kill people, send people to jail, or do away with them unless they've proven themselves to be incapable of cooperating with society. So like somebody who is convicted of like violent crimes, for example, we want that person in jail. We want them removed from society because they're a danger. But we wouldn't put that person in jail preemptively before we know that they're a danger, because it sounds like what you're laying out is like a Lenny kind of situation, of Mice and Men, where Lenny like kills people. He doesn't mean to do it, but he kills people, whatever.
I see your point.
But we wouldn't kill Lenny before he kills that farm girl. You know what I mean?
Taking away from like the potential harm that babies could be causing, they do cause permanent harm to bodies. And so when abortion is illegal, abortion happens anyways. You can't make it go away completely.
I agree with you.
So we need to make sure that we have access to safe healthcare, because women bodies don't always work the way they're supposed to, and babies' bodies don't always work the way they're supposed to. So a woman is supposed to sacrifice her body for a baby who is not viable because we don't have access to healthcare.
I think it comes down to what is viability, and also you said that abortion happens regardless of whether it's legal or illegal.
Which is true.
Murder happens regardless of whether it's legal or illegal,
True.
but we wouldn't legalize murder just because it happens regardless. There still needs to be penalties for people who commit murder. And I'm not in favor of sending women to jail for abortions. I'm in favor of sending doctors to jail for abortions.
Women have performed their own abortions.
Not
and
really. Since the 1930s.
I agree with that, because it has become more accessible in
No.
places where healthcare isn't
Almost
available.
always. Back alley abortions are not back alley. Like, people don't do abortions with coat hangers in back alleys. Back alley abortions were given that name because women would enter legitimate medical clinics through the back alley, so people didn't see them going in the front door. Exactly. So it's like, coat hanger abortions are so uncommon that they virtually don't happen. And honestly, like, I think it's so irresponsible and reckless to do that to yourself anyway that I think it's, I mean, like, almost a form of natural selection. Like, I'd feel worse for the baby.
Pause. We agreed. Okay, so if they don't happen, which is
Virtually
fine,
don't happen.
Okay, virtually don't happen. We still are presented with the fact that babies can kill women.
They can. I make an exception if the mother's life's in danger. So does
And the mother's
every.
life- Okay, so we
so
have
does
to
every
have
state,
very
by the way.
strict doctrine about.
If a physician determines that a mother's life is in danger or serious medical consequences of having a baby, then I think an abortion is justified. And by the way, every Republican state that has abortion legislation that's restrictive
okay. I'm
makes that
talking to you.
exception. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay.
of course. I just
So
wanted to point it out.
What happens if that person is a victim of rape or some sort of
I make a
sexual
rape
violence?
exception too,
It's
because
an
I think
exception?
for me, my position is that I believe in parental obligation. So if you consensually participate in a relationship with a person that produces a child, you
It's
have
your job to take care of that
you have just like your parents had an obligation to take care of you after you're born. I think it should start when they're conceived. And if you are raped, you are not put in a position where you made the consensual obligation for that child, right? So you've been raped, the child has been put there against your consent, and you don't have a right to take care of it because you didn't will it into the world. You didn't force it into existence. Whereas, like, if you got pregnant right now, you've now forced that baby into existence. It didn't ask to be exist, didn't want to be exist. It just exists because of your actions.
So you're of the perspective that once the egg is inseminated, it is automatically a human life.
Once a zygote is created. So fertilization doesn't create a zygote immediately.
If my body decides to have a period?
Well, I didn't say murder.
No, I know, but like if we are going through, you're right. You're trying to punish doctors for going through with these procedures because you believe that every life has.
And if your
has a
body,
right to
if your body, let's say, like, expelled a fertilized egg through your menstrual cycle, that wasn't your action. Like, you didn't consciously make that decision and do it. You didn't do anything reckless. You didn't do anything negligent. It's not your fault. You didn't try to do it. But if you willfully change what is something that you did, so you get what I'm saying. Like,
I do,
like,
and I think that everything that you're saying is very well thought out.
No,
Poor
that-
people
that
do
way, sorry.
exist, and
Yep.
they do struggle, and I think that it's important that we have outlets because, let me just say this. Let me end with this. I think that abortion is a solution, and I agree that it can be prone for people being reckless. If we are going with this perspective, contraceptives, healthcare, education, adoption need to be way more talked about.
Well,
And
adoption.
it needs to be way more of a.
Adoption is different than like the foster care system, for example. So foster care system is terrible, and the reason it's terrible is because it's a lot of times it's more mature children that are usually emotionally damaged, and they have a hard time fitting into new families. In the adoption system, there are more couples ready to adopt than infants ready to be adopted. So they're in high demand, and they go almost immediately. They don't stay there for longer than a couple weeks to a month.
Because my partner was adopted and he went through the foster care system. He was
Foster care stuff
7, I think, when
Yeah.
he was adopted.
makes sense.
And so I support people who adopt, and I think that's very valid. I just think that when we try and, like, to say something should be illegal when it does have so many options of, like, really, like, my mom went through 2 abortions before she had me. And I was still born into a place that was hard for us. We struggled.
Me too. I'm glad I struggled.
I appreciate my struggle, and I also
I
appreciate...
got Israel too. Sorry.
I also appreciate that there's so many things that are outside of our control in this world. There are so many hardships that we have to go to. The system that we are born into, to work, to go to school, to do all of these things, are so pressure, and we are under so much pressure with such a lack of communication and empathy. Our prison systems are so fucked up. we're gonna put people in a position where we're feeding our prison systems, we're feeding this late stage capitalism that we're in already, and we're giving. What I'm trying to say is we're giving the system more money.
Well, I would
creating more bodies.
I would say that
we're creating a bigger working class for what? For people not to have an option to
look around you.
lives?
I mean, it's beautiful. We're creating a bigger
Agreed,
worker
all of
class
these
to
people
build up
came here
society.
through choice. I'm sure there were many women that were contemplating the decision of giving up that life, and I understand that when you see these bodies, you think of them as
No, I'm not talking about the bodies. I'm talking about, look at these buildings, look at the people here, look at the people doing their jobs. Every new person that's created in the world is a person that could potentially make the world a better place. And that's not my basis for abortion,
So
but I
why
think
should
that's...
we not give those women and those families the ability to think of their own lives instead of raising a child that they might not be ready for?
Well, because they made the choice to create the child. That's the problem. Is like, if they had...
Condoms break, contraception
yes, exactly.
fails.
Yes, exactly. So if you are participating in consensual sexual intercourse, regardless of whether you use condoms or any other form of
Do you
contraception...
think that abstinence is preferred?
I think that... No, I think that I don't necessarily force abstinence on people. What I'm saying is there's no form of contraception that is 100% effective.
Okay.
Therefore, every time you have sex, no matter what you're using, you're risking that you might create a child, and therefore it's your responsibility to take care of that child if you create one. I wouldn't want to like force people into abstinence, but what I would say is that if you don't want a baby, abstinence is the only option. However, if listen, everyone has premarital sex. At least most people. Sorry, Christians, but. Most people have premarital sex, and if you're going to have premarital sex, just know that you might risk creating a baby and you're responsible for that baby, or you should be, at least, in my view.
Okay. Okay, I recognize. I think that if we are moving in this direction where abortions should be illegal, maybe we should try and focus on taking bullets out of the gun. I think I understand your perspective.
Okay.
And I appreciate you talking to me about it.
I believe in termination of, abortion through all 9 months, but termination up to I think it's like 20 or 24 weeks when the baby becomes like conscious. Like you can measure that.
Well,
Then
babies become
afterwards-
conscious at 12 weeks.
Okay, then it doesn't matter the actual line. The point is like totally okay to just terminate the fetus before it's conscious, and then after that you would need to induce labor, like have an induction abortion.
Should I be allowed to abort you like when you go to sleep every night? You lose consciousness when you go to sleep. Or like if you're in a coma or something.
No, you don't, because the intention is that I will wake up at the same.
Well,
And also,
a fetus
when I
will
go to
also
sleep, I'm
become
not, like,
conscious.
having an effect on anyone else. That's just me sleeping. Whereas, a baby in.
What if you're sleeping in my house and I don't want you there?
Well, then, yeah, because again,
I can kill you?
Well, no, because I'm not an active threat to you. And also,
I just don't want you there. Like the fetus isn't an active threat to the mother, but I still would say she can't kill the fetus just because it's not conscious. You're unconscious in my house and I don't want you there. Should I have the right to kill you? Let's say there's like a snowstorm outside, and if I remove you from the house, I just set you on the step or the sidewalk outside the house, you'll die of hypothermia or whatever. I would say that I should not, I don't think that it would be right to put you on the sidewalk outside the house.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't think it's right to force a birth when the fetus is like not viable. Right?
Well, what is viability?
Well, that can be measured. I'm not like a doctor.
What do you, like, in your own words, how would you describe it though? Because you brought it up.
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the actual medical definition of what makes a fetus viable.
I would say that I think that viability is irrelevant, and the reason I would say that is because a newborn baby isn't viable. Viable just means you're able to survive on your own, and like a newborn baby can't survive on its own. If you leave it in a room by itself, it will die if you don't feed it.
That's true for like.
It's completely.
That's true for everyone.
Not true. If you put me in the woods, I have a chance to like hunt food and kill it and cook it and stay alive. But if you put a baby in a room for a couple days, it will die. It's completely and physically incapable of taking care of itself. If you don't hold a baby's neck up while you hold it, its neck will fall back and break. That's how helpless they are. They're completely inviable. Without direct human intervention, they're incapable of surviving. So, but I wouldn't say that we should be able to kill newborns just because they're not viable.
I don't think we should be able to kill newborns either because they're conscious.
Perfect. Exactly. Well, okay, but again, like I don't think consciousness matters that much because we wouldn't kill people in comas who have the potential to wake up. We wouldn't kill people who are sleeping because they have the potential to wake up. We wouldn't kill fetuses because they also have the potential to become conscious.
People in comas are actually fairly conscious. They can recall memories from what happened while they were in the coma.
That's not concretely proven in science, but they're people who are in comas are unconscious. That's the whole thing. They're completely unconscious. When you're sleeping, you're unconscious. You're not going to recall things from when you were
person
sleeping.
who was in a coma also was previously conscious. The same with someone who was sleeping,
Why does previous consciousness matter?
because that's not the case for a fetus.
But why is previous consciousness irrelevant?
Well, because it implies that the being was already conscious. It was already a functioning being, functioning human. Whereas, the fetus obviously wasn't. It is actually literally just a parasite that can't really survive.
What is a parasite?
Again, I'm not a doctor, but it feeds off. It requires the sustenance of the mother to continue.
A parasite is an organism that feeds off of a host and gives nothing in return. But that's not true for a female
What
and
does
a
the fetus give in return?
stem cells. Fetuses give stem cells to repair the body of the mother if they're suffering through illnesses. This has been scientifically proven. They transfer their stem cells because babies are rife with stem cells. Stem cells are cells that are not specialized yet that can adopt specializations. So they give that. They also give.
So what does that have to do with abortion? I mean, if a mother doesn't want those stem cells.
It doesn't have anything to do. Well, she can't deny the stem cells, but it doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with abortion per se. It just has to do with this claim that you made that it was a parasite, when in reality it's not a parasitic relationship because it exchanges nutrients to the mother, stem cells and other things.
Yeah, that doesn't really matter.
And also it's a symbiotic relationship. Parasites physically cannot be symbiotic with their hosts. They take and they give nothing. They're leeches, and also parasites cannot be of the same species of the host.
Okay, so
It's
that.
like I couldn't have a parasitic relationship with you because we're both humans.
Okay, that's still irrelevant to I guess the discussion, but yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not really sure what else to say. I still think that it's, the bodily autonomy of the woman is still more important than the so-called bodily autonomy of the fetus, because the fetus, again, isn't a person yet.
What's the principal difference between the fetus and a newborn baby?
Well, the newborn baby is.
That would justify killing it and not the newborn.
Oh, well, the fetus isn't conscious.
It's just consciousness.
I mean, for killing it, yeah, I suppose so.
So I think we're just going to run into a brick wall with the whole, I would argue that you can't kill unconscious things, and you would argue that you can kill unconscious things.
I mean, I guess. Another thing is, when I talk about, what is good is, things that benefit, human happiness or whatever. If you were to, if a mother wanted to get an abortion, that would stop her from going through this disabling event of pregnancy. And that's a good thing that would make her happy. That's her choice. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to, because maybe that'll make her.
What if it made humans happy to do mass shootings?
Well, it doesn't, so it's irrelevant.
It does for some people because they do it.
It doesn't make humans happy.
It makes that person happy. Yeah,
Okay, it makes a lot of other people less happy.
An abortion makes a lot of other people less happy too.
It makes only one unconscious thing and not a life.
It makes me unhappy.
Well, that's your own problem. That's
Exactly. So human
no one's killing you because you're gonna
maximizing human happiness doesn't really make sense, because mass shootings make some people happy. Terrorist attacks make lots of people happy. We wouldn't argue that terrorist attacks are good just because they make people happy. You can argue that
terrorism
abortions
also
make
is
the
a
mother.
definition.
You could argue that abortions make the mother happy, and I would just argue back that it makes the entire pro-life community unhappy.
Well, that's because they have an opinion about it.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. And
but
she has an opinion about getting an abortion.
It's not an opinion. It's her own body that is benefiting.
But it's not her. There's a unique human individual inside of her body. Is the
It's
problem?
not unique,
It is. It has DNA that is not found in any other human on the
but
planet.
it hasn't done anything in the world or had any life experience.
Doesn't matter. Can you kill a baby 2 seconds before it's born? I don't think that world experience really matters. We wouldn't kill people who have traveled less than other people. We wouldn't kill babies 2 seconds before they're born. I don't think that having worldly experience really matters.
Okay, so then what's important about it being unique then?
Because I think that all unique human individuals ought to have the right not to be unjustly aggressed upon. And I think that
Well,
abortion
it
is a form of
just
unjust
to,
aggression.
Abort the baby because the mother will be benefiting from the abortion.
I don't think that
or
makes
the
it
baby
just.
Would be not benefiting.
I would view unjust aggression as any act of aggression against a person that is not provoked by a previous act of aggression.
Well, the
So
act
if
of
I punched
aggression
you in the
the baby is
face, you could
committing
punch me
against
back.
The mother is existing in the
The
mother.
baby isn't
They-
committing any act against the mother.
Yeah,
It sits stationary.
It's existing in the mother's body.
Who put it there? How'd it get there?
The person she had sex with.
No, both of them. It's a consensual relationship. It takes two to tango. Two people are responsible.
Well, it takes two to have sex, but it takes only one to create the baby.
No, it requires gametes from two people, two sexes, to create that baby. Both of them. Okay. After it's born, the baby never takes anything from the mother. The mother's body manually and manually gives the baby resources. It's like when you breathe. You don't think about breathing. You just breathe all the time. When you're sleeping, when you're awake, you don't think about it. You don't tell yourself to do it. You just do it. That's the same way that the mother's body works when she's pregnant. Her body delivers the resources to the baby. The baby doesn't suck them out of her. It doesn't have the resources required to do so.
To do more activity and eat more and do other things that she wouldn't have to do if she wasn't pregnant.
Well, she shouldn't have got herself pregnant then.
Well, she should also be able to choose if she doesn't want to be pregnant anymore.
I just don't agree.
Well, I know that's your problem.
I don't think there's a solid framework for that.
People should have the right to do anything.
I do think that people should have the right to do anything that's not unjust aggression. So I think that you should have the right, if you wanted to sprint down this sidewalk, I think you should have the right to do that no matter what. But if you want to walk up to this guy here and punch him in the face, I don't think you should have the right to do that, because now you're unjustly aggressing him.
Right, but that guy didn't do anything to me. Whereas,
exactly.
The
baby didn't do anything either. The mother's body delivers the resources.
Well, no, the baby exists in the mother's body and affects.
Because she put it there.
Well, no, the person she had sex with put it there.
No, they're two gametes from two different people of two different sexes.
Well, yeah, but if she decides to have sex.
She consensually had sex, and so did the other person, and they knew that relationship, that consensual relationship, that sexual intercourse could produce a new human being.
Yeah, and then she might get pregnant, realize that she
should have thought about that. I go to the casino, right? And I decide.
I do believe in restorative justice. So
you wait. So okay, hold on. Let me lay it out. So if I go to the casino and I play blackjack and I put 100,000 on blackjack, it's my entire life savings. I lose every dime. I have a right to rethink that later and go back and demand I get my money back from the casino.
That's not really comparable.
It is totally comparable. You said the mother has a right to.
Are you gonna let me finish?
Well, let me respond real quick. You said that
you didn't let me respond.
Okay, go ahead.
That's not really comparable, but I also do believe that. I mean, honestly, money shouldn't really be like a concern for people.
Oh, I went and robbed a bank, and then I decided I didn't actually want to rob the bank, and I shouldn't be sent in jail.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I don't believe in jail either, but you would go through a process where you can understand, like, oh, well, here's why you shouldn't have robbed a bank, but you shouldn't be punished for it. You should be led to understand, like why that might have harmed people, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you shouldn't be. Don't you think that, like, violent criminals, for example, should be removed from society? Like, if you go do a mass shooting or something and you survive and you don't kill yourself, you should probably be removed from society. Yeah.
No.
You think that person should just be allowed to walk around the next day?
Well, I think there should be restorative programs to help them, like, recover,
But they should be, even if they're not restored, if they're not rehabilitated, they should just be allowed to walk around.
Well, I mean, rehabilitation takes a while.
What happens when they're not at rehab? What do they do? Are they held at rehab?
It really depends.
It sounds like prison.
It isn't prison, because
sounds like it.
The prison we have today involves, like, slave labor and isolation.
Not in the majority of prisons. The majority of prisons do not have labor. There are some jobs at prisons, like being a librarian and things like that, but those are rehabilitative jobs that people choose to do.
Yeah, but
you don't have to be a librarian.
Effective than other methods of rehabilitation. Again, I'm not a social scientist.
It gives them something to do in prison where they could otherwise be in a cell. That's not labor. The prison doesn't gain anything from that person being a librarian.
Yeah,
the only people that benefit from them being a librarian is other people in the prison getting to read books.
Well, that's only one example. I mean, there are other, like, prison jobs that pay, like, cents to the hour that are effectively slave labor, but that's kind of.
But they're usually not actually laborious jobs. They're usually just giving the inmates something to do to be a productive member of the prison. There are very, very few prisons in this country that actually manufacture things in turn of profit. Very few, like almost none. They've been abolished in most states, and I don't agree with them either. But I think that people should still be put in prison and removed from society if they commit violent acts.
Yeah, I don't think prison is the right way to, like, rehabilitate people. It's not just prison if you're holding someone in a place. Like, prison has a concrete definition. Like, there are institutions, facilities that people can go to that aren't prisons that people could still be required to stay in. As a not really related example, but kind of what I'm talking about.
Can you move this way?
This way? Yeah. I mean, there were re-education camps in communist China that weren't prisons, but they were used to.
But they're effectively prisons.
Well,
like, it's like.
No, it wasn't a prison. People were being held there.
It's like
forced because they had to, because they were anti-communist and had to be educated to understand. But it's not a prison.
But that is essentially a prison. You can't leave. You don't have a choice. It's like if I say I think we should abolish chairs, and then I build this thing that looks almost exactly like a chair and say it's not a chair, it's a doobity-doo.
Right, but like it's not just, it's like a prison isn't simply, at least what we have in America today, it's not simply the specific form of it, it's also the function, and the function of something like a re-education camp is different from the function of a prison today. A function of a rehabilitation center would be different from the function of a prison today.
Half the purpose of prisons in the United States, I was a criminal justice major for 5 years. A major portion, about 50% of the purpose of prisons today is rehabilitation and allowing somebody, or sort of rehabilitating somebody to be re-injected into society, because a violent criminal, somebody who beats their wife or something like that, is not fit to be in society. We don't want to risk that they harm other people, so we remove them from society until they're fit for society.
I mean, that's fine. I don't think it necessarily works super well, and I mean, sometimes it does, but yeah.
Sure.
Anyways, yeah, I'll see.
Yeah, have a good one. I appreciate it.